Hey, what's going on, Mike? Welcome to the Bums and the Bleachers podcast. I am Drammy Sosa, aka the Dram Daddy, alongside my partner in crime, Mike Prasnowski, the Praz Master. What's going on, Mike? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. For those who didn't catch last week's episode, this is kind of the home stretch in my 20s here. Next week, on May 21st, I officially become a 30-year-old, and I'm getting more and more nervous by the day of it. And it almost doesn't even seem real to me at this point. But we carry on with this podcast. We talk Cubs. We try to have fun with it. It's going to be. Are you turning 40 this year, by the way? Did I get that right? Next year, okay.
Yeah, next
so
year.
I'm entering 40. The 30s right as you're leaving them, and I mean, feels. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for it yet, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're probably not. And I think, it'd probably be pretty fun. Like if anybody who is listening along is in the comments, I think it'd be fun to tell if you're in your 30s to let Mike know what to expect. Your funniest thing that you can imagine. Because my thing is easy. I'm always going to be like, your knees and back are going to hurt way more than they ever have. I will say that you will have bones that will begin to start feeling sore that you didn't even know existed. And shit, you might Sammy Sosa and pull your back sneezing or getting out of a hot tub. So it's
truth be told, last year, like right around Christmas, I actually did that one time. For a solid week, I was kind of stumbling around because of sneezing awkwardly, and that wasn't fun. But get that out of the way early. I'm used to some of these feelings now.
Yes, it's not going to be great. I mean, hey, listen, you take care of yourself, you drink a lot of water, you eat good, you're probably in good shape, but you're out at more Cubs games than anyone I know. So, and I know you're not out there drinking just water and
not exactly. Maybe a couple 2 treaties, But.
Oh man, well that's good for you, man. That's exciting. The big 3-0. You got anything huge or big planned to celebrate?
Well, be going out with my family the Saturday after, so the 25th. We're going out to a nice restaurant out by me, Kai's. Gonna try to. I've done a terrible job of trying to like put together something like this, but I really need to figure out if I'm definitely going to the game on my birthday next week against the Braves. The Tuesday night, and then possibly going to try and see if I can swing, the red line doubleheader on the 23rd as well. And then, of course, next week after that, exactly, yeah, should Mike be worried about entering his 30s? I probably should be. Week after that, you and I will actually be in the same city for a little brief time. We're going to be up in Milwaukee for the Memorial Day Cubs Brewers series. Craig Counsell's return to Milwaukee. Me and my buddy Tony are spending a couple nights up there. I know you're going to be up there with a Brewers fan buddy of yours, so
yep,
should be a real fun time. For that Monday game, by the way, me and Tony are going to be like about 8 rows behind home plate. So
wow, okay.
as if I don't get enough on TV at games already.
Yeah, right, exactly. I know. Hopefully we could get another shirtless in Milwaukee potentially. I don't know. Well, I mean, come on. I feel like half of Wisconsin's, do they even wear shirts in Wisconsin?
I was gonna say I likely won't be the only one in my section if that were the case.
Yeah, maybe some overalls or something like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Mike. What's your birthday spot? Like for like a nice dinner, or if you're doing it with family, or like a significant other at the time, or just even friends. Like what's your birthday spot? What's your favorite birthday dinner spot?
When I was younger, when I was in like high school, my parents are divorced, so like I used to have to like kind of do one on each side of the family. My dad and like that side of the family would always go to Harry Carey's downtown. Obviously, just very cliche being a huge Cubs fan and going there, but I love that spot. Love all the memorabilia there. Spent probably every birthday as a teenager over there. Ever since then, it's kind of rotated around for me. last year for my birthday, I went to the place I'm going to this year, Kai's. I found that to be a really nice restaurant over there.
I've never been there.
Yeah, it's really nice on North Avenue between like Bloomingdale Road and 355. Nice little
Okay.
town when I moved out here. I guess that's kind of become the place, but I don't really have an established place, I'd say, but to be determined.
That's see now you're entering your 30s. You're going to have an established place. Because I mean, I feel like your 20s, you're navigating through the different restaurants you like, maybe the foods that you like, until you kind of get to a point in life where you're just fucking lazy and you're just going to stick to the same spot because you love it and you trust it. So,
Right.
my spot is every birthday at this point. I love Chicago Cut. Chicago Cut is
Chicago Cut
my
Steakhouse, absolutely.
favorite spot. We tend to go there. My wife takes me every year. My wife likes to try something new every year. I'm like tried and true. I know that it's going to be great. It's probably one of the best steaks in Chicago. So yeah, Chicago Cut, my spot, and either get the good rib. I usually get the ribeye. I think,
Okay.
I'd say over the last couple of years, my diet has kind of changed. So, we've talked about, I've had some like weight loss over the last couple of years.
For sure.
So my stomach shrunk. So I used to be able to do that big tomahawk, that big ribeye, which I don't know, it was like 20, 30 something ounces.
Mm-hmm.
I really can't do it as much anymore. Cause I just, I get full fast.
Yeah.
So, I tend to lean the filet now. I'll just go,
That'll fill you
tender
up. Yeah.
cut of meat. Beautiful.
For sure. It's probably the best cut of meat you could get too. Chicago Cut is like high on my list for like restaurants I haven't been to yet that I need to get to. Is it just the one location downtown Chicago that
Just
they
the
have, or
one.
is there more? Okay.
Yeah, they had, what they had? Ocean Cut, I believe is what it was
Ocean
called.
Cut.
And that was like their seafood restaurant. And I didn't even know that it closed. It's been like it's been a few
Really?
years since it's closed. And I had no idea. It just kind of like abruptly just one day shut its doors. I couldn't really find a lot on it. Never been. So, obviously we'll never go. But yeah, Chicago Cut's solid, man. I mean, I love where it's at too, like right off the river. Great, view of the city. It's actually pretty accessible to get to. I mean, parking's not too bad over there. It's kind of like, I'd say it's not like in the craziest high traffic area. So it's not like it wasn't too bad finding parking over there, but yeah. Food is amazing. I mean, they even do like this like roasted tomato thing, which I'm not like, I like tomatoes, like garden tomatoes, like a little bit of salt. That's fine. I can eat it like that.
Sure.
But usually I don't like tomatoes like as a condiment, like for burgers or anything like that.
No, I don't.
Take it off, right?
It's not even that it like tastes bad. It's more so just that like it kind of makes everything a little messy. Like it makes things like slide around when you're trying to eat it. So yeah, I can totally relate with that.
Even on a Chicago dog, I like it, but I take it off and I eat it separately.
Just
I don't eat it like with the dog. Yeah, right. I don't eat it with the dog. But they do like these like roasted tomatoes that like, I don't know. It's like, if I remember, it had some kind of like garlic and they're phenomenal. I mean, just it's so simple, but so good. Like everything I've had there has been great. They got a great whiskey list too. So it's, right up my alley. So I love it, but
perfect.
Awesome, man. Well, I know the upcoming weeks we've got, I guess we should tell our listeners, we actually are going to be out a couple weeks. We're going to be on a hiatus, like you said. We're going to be pretty jam packed over the couple weeks. You're turning 30, so we might have to send some search parties to find you on the side of the road. Maybe somewhere along Addison and Clark, underneath the blue line or red line somewhere.
Right.
So we'll have to go looking for you for 1 week. I'll actually be in Kentucky next week, part of a whiskey barrel pick crew. So I'll be gone
nice.
Yeah, Monday through Thursday, I'll be in Lexington and Louisville areas, Bardstown. So just all throughout Kentucky. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then, like you said, we come back and we're actually going to be in Milwaukee, which we didn't plan.
Nope.
We didn't know we were going to be there. So I know you're going up Memorial Day weekend, or, is it whole weekend?
Memorial Day and then the Tuesday after. I'm going for both those games.
I'll be up there for work. So I wish I could make Monday, but I'll be at work on Monday. And that's like a 3:10 start, I believe it was, right?
Yeah, it sounds right. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll miss that game, unfortunately. So you're going to have to fill me in and, I'll be at work. But Tuesday, I'm going to go after the game before I make the trek back to Chicago, which is, not too bad of a drive afterwards. So and I'm off Wednesday, so that shouldn't be too bad.
Nice. There you go. Yeah, definitely got to have that day after to recover from a.
Oh yeah.
I guess you could call it a weekend in Milwaukee, even though it's not really the weekend. But when you're up there, it feels like it's the weekend all the time.
Yeah, sure. Good point. It's been a while since I've
is.
actually been to that ballpark too.
I went like July 4th last year. That was like kind of the game, honestly, that turned the season around for the Cubs, because that was like right after they had just blown like the 6-0 lead the day before in Milwaukee. And then that day they won like an extra inning game on like Ian Happ had a play at the plate to end it, I remember. It's always a good time up there. I mean, love the tailgates, obviously. We know our guys, the Chicago Sports Bums, are going to be hosting one right after we're up there when the White Sox play the Brewers up there. So that'll be fun, enjoyable time for them, absolutely. I enjoy the tailgates. They also got a nice array of like bars that have like shuttle buses that'll take you to and from the games too. You can park there for free if that's what you choose to do. Yeah, I mean, listen, we don't like the teams up there for certain, but we are. I think you and I would both agree we're pretty huge fans of like the experience of going up there to see a game.
Yeah, it's probably been since like I'd say 2015 to 2017 was the last time I had been up to Milwaukee to catch a game. It's been a while, so I'm looking forward to it very much. I still don't have tickets, but I'll plan to get them probably closer to the day. Sure. I can't imagine they're going to sell out, Wrigley North, but
right. Monday game for sure will be, but Tuesday game you might have an easier time.
Yeah. So I'll take a look. I'll probably look tonight and just kind of keep an eye out as the weeks kind of like approach, but going to be a busy couple of weeks. So unfortunately we are going to take a little bit of a hiatus for about a couple weeks, and hopefully Cubs go on a run, and we've got a lot of great things to talk about when we get back. But we named this episode the IL Cubs, and nope, that IL does not stand for Illinois.
maybe mental Illinois, if you see that meme going around, but no.
Yeah, the injuries have been bad. I mean, can we just have like a show where somebody doesn't get put on the IL or doesn't get hurt? Like, it's just unbelievable how massive it's been mounting.
Yeah, Swanson this past weekend, Yency Almonte as well, who had been turning into a guy I was really starting to trust out of the bullpen. Yeah. Now, Adbert Alzolay has had kind of a roller coaster of a season, and, it hasn't exactly been the greatest since he's being taken out of the closer role as well, but did get the save yesterday. Even said in the post game, as we were discussing before this, that like he had felt good mechanically in what he was doing, and then winds up on the injured list today, and now we got the great Jose Cuas back on the roster, which, yay, so excited to see him back.
Yeah, the Alzolay thing was kind of interesting because I had basically said like the day prior when he gave up that home run, I was like, this dude's he needs a phantom injury or something, because he needs to just not play baseball for a while, get the head right. Because, it's interesting because I don't think, like, when I'm watching him pitch, I don't think the stuff is necessarily bad. Like, his stuff's not bad. Right. It's the location. Like, he's just having a hard time locating pitches. He's hanging breaking balls, over the middle of the plate, and guys are going yard off of him. And I think he needs this break. So whether it's a real injury or not, it's needed for him. But yeah, I mean, you have Almonte, as you said, who's on the 10-15 day. Swanson, I think, who's on the 10-15 day, which was retroactive to like the 8th, I think.
Yeah, that was a weird one because I think he got put on the injured list maybe like the day after we recorded last, or like it was like right at the end of the Padres series, I want to say. Yep. And he had been saying like he had been feeling discomfort ever since the Houston series. What are you guys doing waiting to put him on the injured list all that time?
Well, then? It wasn't them. He came out like in an interview, I think yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, and said like he had to be convinced to be put on the IL. Like somebody had to, like he had to have people tell him, which is very scary for your highest, price pointed player on your team, right? That you have to say like, hey, dude, chill out, take a break. Like, it's okay. And maybe that was, some pressure of like, hey, well, Cody's out, Seiya's out, I've got to carry this team right now. But you could clearly see something was wrong, and he was not producing from an offensive and even a defensive standpoint, which was alarming.
Yeah, he had definitely been struggling at the plate a lot. He's a guy that you look at over his career numbers from before he joined the Cubs, and it was like every year he was with the Braves, it would be 162, 160, all 60 of the 60 game season. Like the guy never wants to miss a game, but like at the same time,
it's a long season.
If your performance is being affected, which it clearly was by you not feeling the best way, you need to speak up, dude. On the other hand of that, though, one thing I will say is this was incredibly noticeable in yesterday's game in Pittsburgh. He might be the guy they missed the most of anyone, because some of the balls that were hit to like the second base shortstop hole yesterday, not to fully skip ahead, but like they had Nick Madrigal playing at second base, and it just felt like every ball he was trying to field going to his right to go to the second base bag, it may have well just been a regular hit to the outfield, because he was not even like getting a throw off on them, or he was getting throws off that were like guys were getting safe more often than they weren't. I mean, take your time healing up, Dansby, but I would like to see some sort of better option at second base with Horner moving over to short in his stance. And then, I don't know. It's that's the one I think they're really going to miss the most, because like going from Horner at second base to Madrigal at second base is kind of a very big downgrade, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a good call, because I think like you're not necessarily missing Swanson from a shortstop aspect, because you have Nico, and Nico plays a really great shortstop. But that, it is a great point. I mean, by doing that, you're losing your Gold Glove second baseman as a result. And Madrigal is not that guy. I mean, we know he doesn't have an arm. I mean, we saw him when he's out there in third. He's got to get like a 30 step run to first base to get that throw in.
The one thing about when he's at third is that like the vast majority of the balls he's fielding are taking him towards first base, kind of. If it's going to his right, it's more than likely going to be a foul ball or past him at that point. With the balls hit to his right at second that are taking him away, that's an insane throw for him. I saw him try and make an effort on the Derek Jeter classic attempt throw, where he like jumps and throws it at the same time, and it looked pretty cool until I saw the ump wave the runner safe. So
when it's like 30 miles an hour.
Right, exactly. Yeah, slower than Kyle Hendricks changeup.
Oh geez. Yeah, so like you were saying, we got Amonte on the 15-day, you've got Swanson on the 10-day. Jordan Wicks has still been on the IL, and Smiley's been on the IL. Both had bullpen sessions in Pittsburgh, which hopefully is promising, meaning they hopefully will get some, time in AAA soon and be back soon.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Palencia is still on the IL. Alzolay just got added to the IL. And, from on the 60-day front, you still have Caleb Killian and, Julian Merriweather. So you've got quite a bit of Cubs players on the IL right now, which is, it feels like they have a good amount of depth. I don't know if like the depth guys that they have are necessarily going to be the guys that are overpowering teams, but they've been finding a way to fight through.
They have. And I mean, we did see that, with Justin Steele returning, that allowed for Ben Brown and Hayden Wesneski to be moved to the bullpen. Ben Brown worked a really nice 3 1/3 innings on Friday night in Pittsburgh. I very much, I don't know. I definitely think he has like the best stuff on the team of any pitcher, and
100%.
think he's, probably the best well fit for it. It's just, if he has the ability to go multiple innings every couple of days for you, that may be a little bit more valuable than closing. I call me crazy. I don't know.
I think in a perfect world, like if you had an 8th and 9th inning guy in place, then absolutely. Like I wouldn't, I think you are basically, the reasoning of putting him in the closer spot is just out of sheer desperation at this point, because they literally have no one else. I mean,
true.
And again, because he has the best stuff, as long as he trusts his stuff, I think that he could be a ninth inning guy for this year, and I think like you talked about on one of our last shows, that's how Adam Wainwright got his start. He was a closer for the
Yep.
Cardinals the year that they won the World Series, when he was a rookie. And, obviously those guys are going to be on innings limits and, pitch counts and everything like that, because you don't want to wear out your young arms that early in their career. But move him into the pen, move him into that closer role, that high leverage role, see what he got, see what he's got. And yeah, and then in the year or two, put him back in the rotation.
It could maybe work, but the problem you run into with that is, if you're using him for the 8th and 9th inning, you're not going to be able to use him every single day. He's probably going to need
No.
a day or two off between appearances.
I'm saying that's your 9th guy. They still need an 8th guy. I mean, they're going to have to. We've talked about it show after show. They're going to have to make some trades. They're going to have to make some moves, because I don't think that an 8th or 9th guy exists like in that in that pen right now, unless we're talking about Brown in the 9th. But if that's the case, then you got to find your 8th, 7th, and 6th inning guy, because I mean a lot of our starters really are only going about 5, maybe 6 if we're lucky.
So far, yeah. I mean, Justin Steele, didn't look great in the start when he was matched up against Paul Skenes. He had to be pulled early in that one. Hendricks yesterday, only went 5 in his first start off the injured list. That comes with the territory. It wasn't a great weekend for the starters because they didn't really work all that long. But, I mean, got Shota Imanaga on the mound tonight. He pitched into the 8th inning last time he went out there, and wound up being a little bit of a mistake to leave him out there for the 8th inning. But because it was a night that because it was a night we were recording on, the Cubs knew that and, came back and won that game.
5-1, baby.
Yep, 5-1.
Yeah. You know what? I honestly wasn't mad that Counsell left him in that game too. I know we got other things to talk about, but since we're on the subject, I wasn't upset at all that he kept staying in the game. I don't think it was a mistake, even though he did give up, a 2-run home run in that game. I think at that point your pen was already spent. It's not good. Shota had been a guy that has proven that he's getting outs. He's not giving up much, and it's unfortunate. And Seiya Suzuki just got a base hit. So I didn't mind it. But speaking of, we got Belli and Seiya back. That was huge. Yes. Very much needed for that offense.
Very much needed for this offense, and Belli coming back in a huge way on Friday night. First plate appearance off the injured list, facing a guy who will probably be an NL Rookie of the Year contender in Jared Jones, who throws nasty stuff. But taking him deep into the right field bleachers, love to see that. He had another big hit that tied the game for the Cubs. Cody Bellinger, very, very happy to see him back and hitting like his usual self. There we go. Yeah, 8 for 22, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 4 RBI. Yeah, that's the Cody Bellinger. Obviously, those numbers aren't sustainable over the course of 162, but like when he is at his hottest, that's where you expect him to be hitting. And didn't miss a beat right off the injured list.
The walk to strikeout ratio, and again, this is only through a course of 6 games or something like that since we last spoke. But that was the game that, that was the day that he came back. And oh man, just lined out softly to short. But I mean, he's been, again, like when you have guys like Belli and Seiya back, what it does is it lengthens your lineup, right? And you have a little bit of power in that middle of the lineup too, where Cody's got a couple home runs since returning. Seiya was hitting the ball really hard. You wanted to point this out from Seiya yesterday.
He hit into some ridiculously bad luck. The ball he hit, I think it was the 104 miles or 100.4 mile an hour ball, 335 to center, was one that Jack Sawinski had to make like a diving catch on. Yep. He hit into some terrible luck yesterday. The one that was 393 I saw would have been a home run in 25 out of 30 parks. Hi, Bree. How you doing? Good to see you here. But, hit tonight to start off the first inning for the Cubs. So hopefully that luck is turning around for him. Seiya, honestly, like he's been it felt like he was the one really carrying the offense, through the first 3 weeks of the season. And ever since then, it kind of took a dip. But happy to see him back.
Yeah, so 2 guys back from the IL, another handful going on the IL. So I wanted to play this quick video because it felt topical.
Get him a body bag! Yeah! All right.
Many guys in the body bags, man. It's it's been rough.
Please, no more.
Yeah, so let's cross our fingers. We've got a couple weeks. Hopefully, we get some good luck here, get some good health. But yeah, let's talk about that Pirate series because like we had a couple good games. The Cubs had a couple good games during that series. A couple nail biters. Obviously they started off that series with the 7-2 win, and that was the game that you highlighted. Ben Brown going, about 3 innings. I think it was like 3 1/3 or something.
Yeah. He took over for Assad in the 5th. Assad went 4.2. And Brown pitched through the 8th, and then it was Alzolay to close it out. And actually, Alzolay not terrible that night. He did have a little bit of a scary fly ball that looked like it might go out that Ian Happ made a nice catch on, but scoreless inning for him. And that was like about the best time that the best stretch the Cubs bullpen was on at that point. I know we'll get into this a little later, but like to that point from the Monday night game against the Padres, what's up, HBIC? They had pitched like the last 12.2 innings scoreless. And, Ben Brown obviously pitching 3.1 of that is huge part of that. But, the bullpen was actually looking pretty damn good that night, carried the team, as well as, a nice offensive performance from Cody Bellinger. Patrick Wisdom had a huge hit that game too. So then we move on to Saturday, where all the hype, this is probably the most hype game in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for a baseball game since the 2015 wild card game.
And baseball, really. I mean,
yeah,
this is baseball fans everywhere were tuning into this game.
Like when's the last time you remember there being like this much hype for like a starting pitcher making his debut? Because for me, I think
Strasburg.
I would go. Yeah, I was just going to say Strasburg in, I think it was 2010 or 2011. Because like that guy had all the pedigree going to, like, he was like the most highly touted pitching prospect in years.
Yep. And then Mark Pryor before then.
Yep, Mark Pryor. All in games involving the Pirates too. Did you know that?
I didn't actually.
Strasburg made his debut against the Pirates, and Pryor made his debut against the Pirates.
There you go. Look at you. Just a Rolodex full of information and stats. Yeah, I mean, I think Strasburg was probably the last time. I mean, and it's rare, like when you see a number 1 draft pick be a pitcher who remains the number 1 prospect in all of baseball through their time in, the minors, and then makes that debut too. Because I mean, that's the other side of it too, right? Because you can say like maybe the last, number 1 draft pick that was a pitcher that I can remember, and I don't even know if that's. I mean, I'm sure there were pitchers after that were taken, but I'm thinking of who was the guy that was drafted in front of Chris Bryant in.
Oh, Mark Appel to the Astros.
Yes, yep. Yeah, he was a number 1 pick. Obviously was a top prospect and then faded very quickly through the minors. So it's like that happens more times than this, where you have like a guy that just, man, he flew through the minors too. I mean, he like breezed through it really quickly.
Or the guy, if we're on that same subject, you remember who the Padres took ahead of Justin Verlander? And I think it was 04, 05 draft. Matt Bush, who like wound up flaming out and like never even making it to the majors until like 2013 with the Brewers. Thank you, Baloney. Thank you. Nice and trimmed up.
Yeah, I did see that too, by the way. That your barber did you right, bro. I mean, it's lined up well, man. Good for you.
Quick little plug for that. Main Street Barbershop, Downers Grove. My guy Peter, he cuts me up real nice. Actually, I think he's a friend of the Bums, Mitchell Winkleman. That's his uncle that he put me on for. So, anyone looking for a barber out in the western suburbs, go see my guy Peter at Main Street Barbershop. No free ads. Anyways.
I got to go get a cut this weekend too. It's been I usually go. How often do you go? How often do you get like a haircut or beard trim?
I typically knock both out. I let it go about once every month and a half to 2 months, I'd say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I go every 2 weeks.
2 weeks. See, you're like my brother. My brother does that too. He goes like once every like 2-3 weeks, and I don't know how that's comfortable for anyone or like how he can afford it, but apparently he can. So, more power to him. I like to let it flow a little bit. I like to build up the scruff a little bit and then look real nice on the end. Yeah.
Can't stand it once it's grown and it starts to like get puffy. I mean, I also have like Hispanic hair because and that shit doesn't grow down; it grows out. It just goes straight out. So it's
Right.
I gotta keep it, I got to keep it clean like every 2 weeks. And honestly, I would go every week if I had the time. And yeah, it does get a little pricey going, week to week. But getting back to the Skenes thing. So what was your impression of Skenes? Now that obviously we know this was like a highly touted game to watch. What were your impressions? What'd you think?
Freaking nasty stuff, man. And the Cubs gave him the best possible battle they could. They were making him work a lot of those at bats like they normally do, but it felt like he was untouchable for the first inning. And then the Cubs did eventually, I think, load the bases against him, but with 2 outs and couldn't get anything going. He wound up having like 7 strikeouts. He had nasty movement on his fastball, nasty movement on his slider. I'll say too, I was like mostly listening to the game on the radio because I wound up joining our friends, the Bums, at the White Sox tailgate on Saturday and had a great time there. But while I was listening to the game on the radio, thank you, Jack, appreciate that. While I was, we might have Ronald Acuna tagged out at first base on that pitch.
I just challenged it.
Yep. Hopefully. While I was listening to the game on the radio, it almost felt like I wound up tweeting this out at one point. Are the Cubs playing the Pittsburgh Steelers today? Because it felt like I was watching a football game where, like, you don't really see this with Bears games too often because our fans don't really know what the hell they're doing. But like in, places like New England where like they've had great quarterbacks, like, the fans will stay quiet until the pass is completed and then cheer as loud as they could. It felt like on every single pitch that Paul Skenes threw, it was dead quiet. And then if there was a strike called, it would be just this roar you'd hear from the crowd.
Yep.
So, I mean, and listen, the Pirates, they're in our division. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for them. I love the people of Pittsburgh. I love the city of Pittsburgh.
They've got good fans, man.
They're
really
great.
Do.
Great fans. Our guy Andrew regularly joins us in the comments. I don't see him here tonight, but appreciate his following. And I met some good friends when I was there last in June of last year. I like the fact that there's something that they can get excited about.
They, and like I told you, we talked about it. I've lived there, so it is definitely a Steelers town. I mean, it is a football town,
right?
Through and through. I mean, the city shuts down on Sundays, and rightfully so. That team has been, a winning organization for 17 straight years. They haven't had a losing season, so
3 coaches since like the 50s.
Yeah, and I mean,
when Chuck Noll started.
They have the pedigree of the Pittsburgh Penguins as well, like where they had 3 Stanley Cups in the course of like 5 years, 6 years or something like that too. They had that little bit of a dynasty going on. And the poor Pittsburgh Pirates fans. I mean, it is Bob Nutting he has got to be one of the worst owners in all of baseball. And that's saying a lot coming from us where we've seen it on the other side of town, right? Where you've got Jerry Reinsdorf, right? But he might actually battle Jerry for worst owner because I mean that ballpark is amazing. Like it is one of the best ballparks in all of baseball. It is one of the most perfect ballparks in all of baseball.
It truly is.
And that fan base is so loyal. They're so knowledgeable. They love the Pirates. They don't have enough winning seasons to celebrate. And it's brutal, man. You kind of feel for them, like even though they are a division rival. And maybe we feel this way because that rivalry isn't as big because the Pirates usually are pretty bad and we're usually beating up on them. But, it's like when you are from like a blue collar town that really loves its sports and you can relate to another city that feels the same way and has that fan base. It's sad, man. It's super sad. And I mean, Skenes feels like a godsend for them. I was watching the game and I got to tell you, man, if I hear Splinker like another time, I might pull my own hair out and not get a haircut on Saturday. But I mean, the dude is filthy. I mean, he was ridiculously filthy. You could tell he was amped up too, and the Cubs used that to
Absolutely.
their advantage. They worked deep counts like they usually do. They were able to, really just kind of get him out of the game, pretty early. I think he only went four innings. He left two guys on, entering the fifth. But
Right. And
I mean,
not terrible for a major league debut.
no,
His
and
first two starts do project to be against the Cubs. It's going to line up
yeah, you're
more
gonna
than
see him
likely
again.
on Thursday, also facing against Justin Steele again. So
Hopefully, we see a flip of that, and we see Steele actually
Correct.
dominate. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, I think he's going to
Well,
settle in.
we'll see. I mean, the Cubs, a second time around seeing him in back-to-back with, a little bit of a offense that has kind of more settled in with, at that point, Bellinger and Seiya will be back for a few games. Hopefully Patrick Wisdom rides the hot streak that he's on. I feel good about what they could potentially do. Not to say like they're going to light him up anytime soon, but I'm excited to see the prospect of like what the games are going to be like when they face Skenes when it's his turn in the rotation against the Cubs.
Yeah, I mean that game was so frustrating because that's a game that you think that the baseball gods would have favored us because that was the game that there was a 2 hour plus rain delay. The
Right.
Cubs were down 6-1 in that game, and
Yep.
right before they had gone into that rain delay, they tied the game 6-6 with
Yep.
I think it was in the fifth inning. There were still 2 outs. They had the bases loaded still, and they walked in. I think we
6
thought
in a
our
row.
bullpen was bad. Yeah,
Yep.
we thought our bullpen was bad. The Pirates bullpen walked in 6 straight runs with the bases loaded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a rough go for them, and then
they find a way to lose that game.
Yeah. So much of that hype and nerves. Whoa, you throwing stuff all over the place. You're really pissed off about that game.
Just dropped
John.
my phone, man. I'm so yeah. That game did piss me off. I was.
Sadly, yeah. I didn't get a chance to watch most of it because I was over on the south side, and I was checking in periodically on my phone, but to have freaking Yasmani Grandal of all people, while I'm surrounded by a bunch of Southsiders, have him be the one that have the shot to take the Cubs deep was a little bit infuriating. But he actually factored into like a play on Friday and a play on Sunday that like helped the Cubs win those games because he dropped they had Nico thrown out on what wound up being an RBI double by Cody Bellinger on Friday, and then on the tag attempt he just drops the ball, and then you go to Sunday. I mean, we'll get to this at this point, but Kyle Hendricks makes his return, goes 5 innings, little shaky, but gets you through 5 innings, only allowing 1 run. I don't know that you fully trust him yet, but at least was nice to see him, get you through a game that, if the Cubs, the Cubs did wind up relinquishing the lead later, at least it wasn't his fault that they did that,
Man, I'm still, those are the kind of games that just drive me absolutely nuts where it's like, again, like we've talked about it, man. They've blown, I think, 9 or 10 saves at this point this year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you convert half of those, like we'd have a record up there with the Braves and Dodgers. I mean, it is so frustrating. And again, against a bad team. And that was also the game that Justin Steele had given up, 3 home runs in that game to a Pirates team that like ranks towards the bottom in home run and slug. I mean, they literally lack power up and down that lineup. And that was a game that was, again, the baseball gods you'd think would be in our favor. And man, they were not. That was, yeah.
For the Saturday game. Yeah. The Saturday game, you know what, if that was the one we were going to have to lose this weekend, that's fine with me. I know it sucks to lose it after taking the lead, but at least the one game that like the Pirates really and their fans really wanted to win, they got that.
Yeah, but they also almost gave away the next game. they tried
did almost
real hard
give away
to
the
give that.
next game.
They tried
Yeah,
their
so
hardest to give that game away.
shout out to the newly minted nickname, the Heart Attack Hector Neris by Hayden Wisniewski. Yeah, he does not make it easy in the ninth inning at all. And, this was, right after finding out that Yancy Almonte went on the injured list as well, probably working with a short bullpen at that point. Did have a nice little performance from Mark Leiter Jr. That was his first appearance since pitching in last Saturday's Brewers game. And, hopefully he's, energized and ready to go, possibly all 3 games of this Atlanta series, because he has been, at least statistically, the best reliever in the Cubs bullpen to this point. But Hector, loading up the bases, damn near walking in the winning run, but somehow they were able to get out of it. Thank you to Cody Bellinger for catching that last out and saving my sanity. Cubs were able to put some runs together in the 10th. Cody Bellinger leads off with an RBI single, but I hate when guys do this too. They immediately get thrown out trying to stretch it to a double on, an opportunity where the next inning the other team is going to start with a runner on second. You need to kind of play for 2 runs because it's almost a given that they're going to score 1. But thankfully, a few batters later, Patrick Wisdom, this has like a real turning point of the season to me, by the way. I don't know if you caught this in yesterday's game. He was down 1-2 in that at bat, and he foul tipped a ball that went into Yasmani Grandal's glove and then fell out.
Yep.
Yasmani Grandal, really helping us out on Friday and Sunday, and then, really killing us on Saturday. And then, a few pitches later, Wisdom goes deep, gives the Cubs a little insurance. They attack on another run on a wild pitch, and they wound up needing it because first batter of the inning against Adbert Alzolay, it was O'Neill Cruz hitting 2-run homer that, made you think, here we go again with Adbert Alzolay, but he was able to settle down, get the save. Cubs escape Steel City with 2 out of 3, and we're on to Atlanta now. It was one of the most nerve-wracking games I've watched in a while, but you'll take what you can get on the road.
Yeah, let me read you this. Let me read you the Hector Neris numbers over the last 7 games. I'm gonna start out by reading the good. 7 innings of 1-run ball, 5 strikeouts, and 4 saves. On the surface, you're like, that's pretty good. Mm-hmm. That's not bad.
Yeah.
But then you dig deeper, and the peripherals are not very good, because this tells a true story of why he has garnered the name Heart Attack Hector. He's given up 6 hits in 7 innings, 7 walks in 7 innings. So he's got a whip of 1.86 with the amount of hits and walks combined there. I mean, he continues to put himself into really tough jams that so far he's been able to work his way out of. But I mean, when you play with fire, man, you're bound to get burned eventually. And I think this is where, they can joke all they want in the clubhouse and call him Heart Attack Hector, but that's super alarming to me, because that's almost like the mm-hmm. team saying, we know we don't have a closer. Like, we know we don't have a shutdown guy here. Right. And let's joke about it. Let's have fun with it, because that's what it is. But man, oh man. Yeah. We're on to Atlanta. we're on to Atlanta. Just get my hoodie.
Atlanta.
Yep. Atlanta.
Speaking of Belichick, did you happen to see the rest of the Brady roast at all, to the point where he was in there?
I finished it, and it was hilarious, man. That was a really good I thought, my favorites of that show were, I thought Nikki Glazer did amazing. I thought her set was great. I thought, what's his name? That podcaster, Tony.
Hinchcliffe, Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, he was really good. I thought Belichick was good.
Mm-hmm.
Edelman was really good as well.
Yep.
I thought Gronk was
a little cringeworthy. Yeah.
Terrible. I mean, it's and he probably was either on something or drunk or both, because you've seen him on, Fox NFL Sunday. Like,
Correct.
he's not that bad. I don't think he's great by any stretch,
No.
but he really played into like the fucking dumbass. Like he played
exactly
into buffoon. Like, and it wasn't funny. Like it was kind of cringy.
right. It was getting to the point where you were like kind of hoping he would wrap it up ASAP, and then it just kept going and going and going. And yeah,
Bill was good though. Bill was really good.
Bill was really good, even if he was a little bit nervous through it, because he's never been the jokey kind of guy like that. But for his first time doing something like that, not terrible.
Yeah,
I did love the moment with like him, Robert Kraft, and Brady coming together after like all that's transpired with them.
They said that that was like full of just tension between Kraft and Belichick. Like that's still there. Like that tension still, and you could see like they weren't really like they were there to show face and everything, but it didn't look like that was a very loving moment. And I know Tom is like, Tom loves Robert Kraft. That's like, a second dad to him. You saw how he defended, him against Jeff Ross when, it was making the massage parlor jokes and everything like that, which, I mean, come on, man.
It's a roast, let him make the jokes.
Everything's fair game. There. You want to do a roast like that? Everything's fair game. I mean, shit, like Kevin Hart said, fuck those kids when he was talking about Tom Brady's kids. And like that wasn't the line that was crossed. It was Robert Kraft.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so we were talking about the bullpen woes, right? They continue to peek their ugly head, and we said like they started out, some of the Padres series leading into the beginning of the Pirates series. This is what and this is also for anyone who's wondering and is unfamiliar with a pile of dog shit in a bag on fire. That is also what the Cubs bullpen looks like. That roast was probably 2 hours too long.
Yeah.
But this is the Cubs pen, 18.2 innings here, 18 and 2/3, 17 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 home runs, 1.43 whip, 9 walks, 22 strikeouts. The ERA was pretty solid, 2.96. And really a lot of that came over the last 2 games where they gave up 6 earned runs, 3 home runs in that stretch. And the ERA really was around 6. So before that, it looked like it was starting to turn the corner, and then they shat the bed yet again. And I guess like, again, it's like you want to give them their credit, where credit's due, but man, it's like every time you feel like they turn the corner, a couple games like that happens, and it's just, there it is again. And again, you start stretching out your bullpen more and more because you're wasting guys trying to get outs that you can't trust a couple guys to get, so
for sure. I do though feel like once they get Almonte back, I don't know if you've fully turned the corner on him like I have. Once they get him back, once they have, Hayden Wesneski, Ben Brown as a part of that, and we'll see what happens when Jordan Wicks returns, whether he goes to the rotation or maybe becomes a bullpen piece since they're lacking on lefties. I don't think it's going to stay this bad forever. It definitely still needs to improve, and you definitely still want them to go out and try and make a move for, if not a closer, at least a high level reliever with, with swing and miss stuff. Yeah. But at least it's trending somewhat in the right direction. Whip is still not exactly where you want it to be, but
it's too many guys on base, man.
Yeah, too many guys on base. Thank you very much, Hector Neris. We'll see. I hopefully like they can get that all figured out like before the other shoe really drops with Hector Neris, because we can all kind of see it coming at this point.
Right. And I know before we move on, we wanted to talk about the return of Kyle Hendricks, the rotation. Obviously got roughed up before going on the IL, had a ERA at about 12. It was really rough. Went on the IL, had a couple games in the minors to work his way back up, pitched yesterday. Here's the stat line here. He went 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, but 4 walks, 5 strikeouts, gave up a home run on 94 pitches. I mean, what were your impressions of Kyle Hendricks coming back? Did you feel like this was okay, he's turned a corner, he's starting to come back around, or do you still have some cause for concern here?
At this point, I would say I'm taking it on kind of a start-by-start basis. I obviously he was able to limit the damage, only allowing the 2 hits, only allowing the 1 earned run. I want to say one of those hits wound up being, well, obviously, okay, so you had the 1 home run, so that was one of them.
Yeah.
The other
So
one
O'Neal
was like,
Cruz.
yeah, the other one was like this little dribbler that was hit to third base that Morel couldn't get to quickly enough. The walks aren't great, and
That's
that's
where
the
I'm
thing
concerned.
is like that's the most uncharacteristic thing about Hendricks' line is like in years past, even when he has struggled, he's never been a high walk guy.
Nope.
So,
Yeah,
hopefully, go ahead.
No, I was saying if he's giving up runs on soft contact, that's one thing, right? But again, we've talked about it with Kyle. He is a pitcher who can't rely on velocity to overpower guys, right? So he's got to be pinpoint. He's got to hit his spots. And the 4 walks, you're right, uncharacteristic. And that to me is an alarm. That's setting some alarms, and some flags off for me, where I'm still concerned that I don't think he's necessarily turned the corner just yet, because that's also a Pirates team again that lacks a lot of power, doesn't have a lot of slug or home run capability, and the one that he gave up was O'Neal Cruz, which, I mean, O'Neal Cruz hits home runs off a lot of guys, but
Right.
didn't feel great.
No, it didn't feel great. The one nice thing, though, is like the few times where he did really get into some trouble, he was able to work out of it because, like, I don't know if you remember that O'Neal Cruz home run was to lead off an inning right before the at-bat on the previous inning. The Pirates had, I think, a guy on, and it was maybe Rowdy Tellez at the plate or someone who had previously like been on another team and kind of been a Cubs killer a little bit and was able to navigate around that and get out of that inning before you had to face Cruz. I guess that would be the one encouraging thing to me is that like the trouble he got into, it wasn't something that really affected him. Like he was able to work around it. So, I do wonder, like, are the walks maybe a product of him, like, trying to get hitters to chase because he knows if he throws it in the zone that it's going to get hit a long way?
Yeah.
We'll see. I wouldn't think so because he's always been a control guy, and it looked somewhat off on the walks he had yesterday. So I don't know. Taking it start by start with him. He will. We mentioned that. It's likely going to be Paul Skenes versus Justin Steele again on Thursday night when they play each other. I think a nice little landing pad for Hendricks would be facing the Pirates again at a ballpark he's a little more comfortable pitching at. So, I would have my faith in him for that start. But I'm not going to fully say that he's all the way back beyond that point.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into our one of our favorite segments here, the player A, player B.
Absolutely. Player A, player B.
So I'm going to show this. You created these for me. So these are 2 current players, correct? Yes. 2 current players.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, first set of players is there are some new people watching this. Let me explain this in full. So on this segment, we like to have pick out 2 players in Major League Baseball. 2 sets of 2 players, 1 set of players that are current, 1 set of players that are either retired or current, but maybe have had a little bit of a longer career. Compare them to, someone who might be a little more legendary than the other guy might be, and kind of try to stump the other person into saying, like, you see the stats, which one would you like to start? Which one would you like to sit? So going for these ones, player A, these are 2 current players I'm going to say. Current player so far this year is hitting .267 with a .333 on base, .417 slug, a .750 OPS. He has 3 home runs, 19 RBI, 12 extra base hits, 19 runs scored. He's 2 for 2 in stolen base attempts. He's walked 9 times, struck out 20, has a weighted runs created plus of 114 and a 0.3 B WAR. And then player B, with some similar stats to him, is currently hitting 275 with a 364 on-base percentage, a 399 slugging, OPS of 762. He's got 2 home runs on the year, 12 RBI, 14 extra base hits. He scored 25 runs. He's 5 for 7 in steal attempts. He's walked 17 times, struck out 16. Pretty damn good plate discipline there. Excuse me. 122 WRC plus and a 0.6 baseball reference WAR. So between these two, who you starting, who you sitting?
Whew, let's see. So player A on base isn't as good. Runs, 19 RBIs, 12 extra base hits, but the extra base is pretty good. Okay. 275. I'm assuming this is pretty early in the year.
Well, yeah, these 2 players, these are stats for this year.
Okay, for this year, it's 2 home runs, 25 runs scored, 5 or 7 steals, 0.6 WAR. Yeah, I mean, this one feels pretty easy, and I feel like you're setting me up here, but I would say just based on the start to this year right now, I'm going to say player B just because I love the on base. I think the slug isn't as high, but the OPS is there. Stealing bases, drawing walks, weighted runs better. So I'm going to go player B.
Okay. That is probably the less trick of the choice. Player B is Cubs second baseman, well, right now shortstop, Nico Hoerner. Player A is a guy who has routinely been a Cubs killer over the course of his career, who they're playing against right now, in Ozzie Albies. Okay. Yeah, very underrated player too, but hasn't gotten off to exactly the best start this season.
Also, Cub killer, man. So don't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Don't jinx us.
It's not jinx anything here.
Yeah, he's usually killed the Cubs, so that doesn't make me feel really great right now. All right, but no, I'm glad I picked Nico. Obviously I love Nico, and cool. All right, let's do next one. Player A, you've got here.
So we got a set of pitchers here for this next set, and these are what these 2 players would average on a per 162 game basis per Baseball Reference. So on a 162 game average, player A goes 16-10 with a 3.16 career ERA. He averages 229 innings pitched. He has a career WHIP of 1.143. He averages 154 strikeouts per year, 46 walks per year, would allow 16 home runs per year, would have a 132 ERA plus. For those who don't know, for ERA plus, 100 is league average. So at 132, they would say that he would be 32% above league average. And he would average 4.8 Baseball Reference WAR per season. And then we move on to player B. Over the course of his career, averages going 14-9 per year with a 3.1 ERA, 200 innings pitched per year, a 1.046 WHIP per year, 246 strikeouts, 47 walks. He averages giving up about 22 home runs per year, a 138 ERA plus, and per 162 games, he is worth 5.3 Baseball Reference WAR. So who you got between these two?
16-10. So I don't really look at the win-loss records as much. I mean, we talked about it, in a lot of our shows. It's so hard to quantify like what wins really mean to a team, like when, fielding dependent, and all that stuff that comes into it. So, and also run support. But I mean, the ERAs here are so close. I mean, you're getting more innings out of top guy. I mean, that's a workhorse right there. Mm-hmm. But you're getting better whip, better strikeouts here.
Yep.
About the same amount of walks. So you're probably getting less walks from the first guy per 9. You're also getting less home runs per 9 from the first guy.
Right.
But I mean, the WAR and the ERA plus are better on player B. I mean, 29 innings, I know That is.
I mean, you can't go seeing those stats. You can't go wrong either way. If you average 200 innings per year,
yeah, especially now in this league.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna go player B here. I think I like the strikeouts. I like the whip. I think like the walks are probably obviously going to be a little bit higher per 9. Home runs per 9 are a little higher, but I think overall you're getting a better WAR from this player. So yeah, I'm gonna go player B.
Okay. So the player that you chose to go with is the guy who will start, I believe, tomorrow night for the Atlanta Braves. Former White Sox and Red Sox ace Chris Sale, who has actually rebounded pretty nicely so far this year.
Yeah, he's having a good year.
The guy you're choosing to sit might have a case for being the greatest pitcher of all time because it's Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux averaged 16 and 10 per year, 3.16 ERA. The strikeout, I thought the strikeout being low for him might be a dead giveaway for you, but
yeah, I was kind of leaning that it could have been Greg Maddux, but I mean, if you're just going averages here, I get it. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, that's a tough call, but yeah, Chris Sale's having a great year, and how about that? I mean, we're facing 2 ex-White Sox in this series. You got Reynaldo Lopez tonight, who is back in a starter role for the Braves, and you're going to see Chris Sale again, which again, man, it's hopefully they don't Grandal us.
At least in the Sale situation there, like that was a trade that made sense at the time because Yohan Moncada was like very hyped up as a prospect. He was like the number 1 among all minor leaguers. Probably feel bad that you had Reynaldo Lopez in the past few years and couldn't get this kind of performance out of him.
He just jinxed us. Albies just got a hit.
Of course.
He's got the 3rd highest OPS versus the Cubs in all of history. Mark McGwire, John Olerud, and Ozzie
John
Albies.
Olerud. I wouldn't have expected to hear John Olerud, the guy who wore the helmet at first base when he was fielding.
All right. You ready to play On This Day in Cubs history?
Let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to read a couple things for you. So if you guess it, hold your answer.
I'm muting.
All right. Anybody who wants to guess in the comments, feel free. So we're going to start off here. This player moved into 2nd place on the all-time list for leadoff home runs for the Cubs in all of baseball, really, tied with Craig Biggio. The Cubs player had hit their 21st leadoff home run with the Cubs since they had been signed a few years prior. And in this game, Adrian Gonzalez also homered twice off Ted Lilly in a 6-4 Cubs win. So on May 13th on this day, and this was obviously years ago, the Cubs won 6-4. Adrian Gonzalez homered twice, and this player moved into 2nd place on the all-time list for leadoff home runs. Who is that player?
I do know who the player is. I'm curious about what year this was now. I'm trying to think at what point in the year they would be playing the Padres in May. The player is Alfonso Soriano, for sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, and I know it was 07 and 08. He was primary leadoff man, and then he started as leadoff man in 2009, but then they kind of flip-flopped between him and Ryan Terrio. Was this... I'm trying to think. May of was this like the same series where like at Wrigley where Derek Lee and Chris Young wound up getting into that fight when Derek Lee got hit by the pitch? Because that was 2007.
This was 2009.
2009. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
There's also another fun on this day in Cubs baseball history. In 1969, Ernie Banks reaches 1,500 RBIs.
All right.
Also against the San Diego Padres.
Also, wow, I think that was first year of the San Diego Padres, actually.
It was. They were an expansion team that year.
Nice. There we go. Ernie Banks still at the ripe old age of like 38, getting milestones.
All right, let's jump into our flying the W's and taking the L's.
Hello, you play to win the game.
Addison is next. Doors open on the left at Addison.
I say one thing. Go. Let's go. That's a W. That's E1. That's E1. That's a W.
Is a L7 Weenie.
L7 Weenie. All right, so I've got one W. I know you have you've got a W and an L.
And they both kind of tie into each other.
You want to start off, or you want me to go, or?
I'll sure. As a matter of fact, I got, we'll say 2 W's. One is actually Cubs related. I'll just say, a guy that I kind of dragged through the mud a lot last year down the stretch when they were struggling on these shows, but has come up in a big way lately has been Patrick Wisdom. He carried the Cubs offense with 3 hits yesterday, carried them in the Saturday game in the Milwaukee series with 2 hits and a home run then. I never would have thought that he would be this important of a player on the Cubs to this point when I barely had him making the major league roster out of spring training. So shout out to Patrick Wisdom. Huge W for you, hitting 321, 441 on base, 1120 OPS as of yesterday. My other W, it's got to go to the guys who are gracious enough to host us every week, the Chicago Sports Bums. As I mentioned, went to their tailgate at the White Sox game on Saturday, the Whiskey at Comiskey tailgate. Had a great time there. Great food by Chef Ruddy, cooking up some barbecue, cooking up some hot links, some brisket, some pulled pork. It was absolutely
Very
delicious. Nice. I don't know if we want to jump into the L related to that right this second, but do you mind if I do that?
Yeah, go for it.
So the L we took, the L that's being taken on this one goes to friend of the Bums, not so much a friend of this show because she's a Sox fan, but Marge Raguso, who's a good friend of mine, who Dougie's young daughter Madison was going around asking questions to people among the tailgate. And one of the questions she asked of Marge, well, take a look for yourself.
What did you ask me? I'm sorry.
What is your favorite White Sox player?
None of them because they're all garbage.
I think you're garbage.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G.
Snoop Dogg.
Dog life, baby. I love
Dog
it.
life on Madison.
I saw that and I was dying. I was like, well done. I mean, the quick wit on that kid, man. That I can only hope to father my daughter to be as quick-witted, as that. So that was amazing.
Yeah,
Dougie, you've done right, man. You've done right,
Dougie,
great job.
She is definitely your daughter. I also heard too that there were some bracelets that someone made at the tailgate. Vino, forgot his name there for a second. That there were extras left over, and she was going around asking people for $2 each per bracelet when they were originally just supposed to be free, and she was just collecting out there. So, Maddie, a huge hustler. Like I might want to cross the street next time I see her on the same side as me, honestly, because she's a savage. Marge, R.I.P. to you. Sorry you had to take that L.
I love that, man. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to start with my L first. So the L I have is, it's me, man. I'm finding more grays in my beard every day, and it's all thank you to this Cubs bullpen. There are a lot of things that could age me quickly, man. My job, my kid, just real life shit. But this bullpen is. That's why we had a preface before this show that we're going to be gone a couple weeks, because I didn't want people to think like, oh shit, what happened to John? Like over the last 2 weeks, did he finally go into cardiac arrest because of the bullpen? So hopefully that doesn't happen over the next couple weeks.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm going to give myself the L there for that. Cause terrible. But I wanted to give my W to this future prospect, because I don't know if you saw, but the Chicago Bulls landed the number 11 pick in the NBA lottery and the draft lottery.
Yeah.
And with this, I already know where they're going with the pick.
Really?
I know. Yeah. 100% know.
You do.
So this pick is going to be guaranteed. They're going to call this on draft night with the 11th pick. The Chicago Bulls with the 11th pick draft a 5th-year senior power forward out of DeVry 5'9", 265 pounds. So congrats to
Who
this
the hell
guy.
is this guy?
He's the next star of the Chicago Bulls, man. That's who they're drafting because that's what the fucking Bulls do.
Oh my god!
He gets the
Jeez,
W because he's getting drafted out of DeVry.
I wouldn't want that guy as a water boy on my basketball team, let alone being the first round draft pick. But yeah, okay. Shout out to this young Harry Carey looking fella.
Yeah, that dude's guarding the boards for the next 5 years. Trust me.
Yeah.
They're gonna, you know what they're gonna like? They're gonna like that he's got a good wingspan. He could, like the Bears, he could jump out of a pool. All the things that just what bad GMs do, right?
Right. All the things that do not matter towards the sport you're drafting at all.
Jesus, man. I just can't. I saw the Bulls have the 11th pick and I'm like, you know what? It serves them right. It serves them right because they are going to be continuously stuck in this purgatory of just the 9th seed. And you know what is really funny? I should give them the L, right? Because they beat the Atlanta Hawks in that 9th, 10th seed game, right? The play-in game. Mm-hmm. And the Atlanta Hawks ended up getting the number 1 pick in the draft because they lost that game. And it increased their odds to get that pick. And they got the number 1 pick. So
wow. I didn't even think about that till then. But yeah, the Atlanta Hawks were who they played in that game. And like,
yep,
the Atlanta Hawks I did see some highlights of that game. I didn't watch it fully, but like the Atlanta Hawks did not seem even remotely interested in playing that game. It's like they almost knew. Ooh, speaking of Chicago versus Atlanta, Seiya almost missed one there, or Seiya almost got one out, but to the warning track.
Damn. Yeah. All right.
Hopefully
well,
Chicago doesn't take another L to Atlanta tonight.
Yeah, seriously, man. Oh, that's a good point. That's a really good point. All right, so we've got the upcoming week here, right? Like we said, we're going to be out of the office for a few games here. A couple weeks here. So there's going to be quite a bit of games going on. We've got the Cubs against the the Braves. What is it? Tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday, and then they have 4, and then 4 against
3 against the Braves.
All right, so let's just do the first 2 series. We'll just go Braves, and we'll do the 4 game set against the Pirates. So, what do you got going into this this series with the Braves? What do you think?
This series against the Braves is definitely a tough one, especially having to face Chris Sale tomorrow. We'll have a pretty refreshed Jameson Taillon on the mound for the Cubs because he had his start skipped. Hopefully the back problems are okay with him. At the end of the day, I think it's only going to be 1 out of 3 in Atlanta, and I think it'll be tonight because Shota has once again looked just as good as he has been. No starter has been announced yet for Wednesday. We'll see. That could change, but just going to Atlanta, they are kind of the class of the National League at this point. I got to respect them and say that the Cubs are only going to take 1 out of 3 there. But then they will, I think they return home, face the Pirates this weekend, and win 3 out of 4 against them, probably dropping the one that Paul Skenes pitches.
Okay. I've got the Cubs going 1-3 versus Atlanta because got to win tonight.
2.
Sorry, 1-2. Sorry, yeah, 1-2 against Atlanta because they got to win tonight. It's a night that we're shooting a podcast.
Correct.
And again, the Cubs are 5-1 when we are doing a podcast together, and 6-1 when Mike and I are together in some capacity. So, great record overall. So I'm going to say 1-2 against Atlanta, and I'm going to go 2-2 against the Pirates because I think that bullpen is just not good.
That's fair. That's fair. I could see that, but I don't know. I feel like after taking 2 out of 3 in Pittsburgh, as much of a nail biter as it was, I think it's hard to tell. Maybe the Pirates have a little bit of renewed energy now that they have Skenes, but the offense is still one that, doesn't exactly scare me at this point. I could see it going either way, 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4, but hopefully they do what they normally do against the Pirates.
Awesome. Well, you know what, man? It is always a pleasure talking Cubs baseball with you. Like I said, we've got a couple weeks off, coming up here, but excited to see you in Milwaukee. We'll definitely have
Absolutely.
to get get a brat,
Yep.
get some glaring. What is it? Glaring cow or whatever that stupid beer is.
Spotted Cow, New Glarus. Yep.
There you go.
Don't let HBIC hear that. He hates
I
that
hate
beer.
that beer. I hate that beer.
Come on.
Yeah,
It's my
not a
favorite
fan.
when I go up there.
Yeah, not a fan.
Well,
but,
you're not a beer guy anyway, though.
I used to be though. I used to be, and I didn't like it when I drank beer. So I'm going to be looking for some old style and strike out obviously, but maybe get some Paps.
I was going to say you'll probably run into a bar with like a Pabst and a shot special.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
But appreciate everyone joining in. Like I said, we're going to be gone a couple weeks. Mike and I are going to try to do some fun things at the Brewers game. I know Mike will be out there Tuesday, and I'll be out there. I'm sorry, he'll be out there Monday and Tuesday. I'll be out there Tuesday. So we're going to try to meet up and do some fun things on our social media. So
everyone slam Cubs money line on the Tuesday night of that game, since we're going to be together, and they don't lose and we're together.
That's a good point. Yeah. Doesn't matter who's pitching. So
correct.
Yeah. Money line Cubs that game, if you want to put a bet that far out.
Yeah, exactly.
The line might be, it might be favorable right now. So
right.
Pull the trigger. All right, folks. So thank you for joining into Bums in the Bleachers. We appreciate you. It's going to be a couple weeks before we're back, but be on the lookout for our social media. We'll be putting some stuff up in between, and I'll be putting some stuff out there when I'm in Kentucky as well. So if you follow me on Instagram at the Dram Daddy, which is linked in the bio as well, and right there in the name, and then obviously Praz Masters and Bums of the Bleacher.
Yep.
All right, Mike, take it easy. Let's go Cubs. Let's have some good winning baseball coming up here.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy, take it easy.
Yep. Have a good night.
Bye, y'all.